I'm going to weave in and out of a lot of issues. I get the privilege to pastor a church with undocumented individuals, and it presents some issues. And I'm going to share some of those issues to help you with your congregants and the people that you help and you pastor and so forth. So bear with me once again because I'm going to go in and out of legal issues and ethical issues and pastoral issues that we come across often. And so why does this matter now? They are our community, obviously, and these people you want to love through one of the most challenging times of their lives, where they face immigration issues, they face legal issues, and they also face spiritual issues that we need to be very keen to what's happening to them in their lives. As a pastor, it is very difficult for me sometimes to treat my own folks or help my own folks. And the reason why is because sometimes they don't know how to distinguish your representative hat and your pastor hat. And so I was interviewed by a local newspaper, and they asked me, well, how do you distinguish the differences between their legal issues and their pastoral issues? And you have to be very upfront with them and let them know, so this is my attorney hat, and this is my pastor hat, and this is so forth. And I'm speaking to you now in legal terms. I'm speaking to you now in spiritual terms. And so you have to be very transparent when it comes to what type of counsel you're giving them and what kind of words are coming out of your mouth, or give them transparent understanding of what you are dealing with, either legal, spiritual issues, or family issues, or what have you. So it's very important for you to first always talk to your people going through these issues from a standpoint of a pastor. Okay. One thing that is very apparent in immigration law is UPL, unlicensed practice of law. And what happens when a pastor speaks to a congregant in legal terms, it can get really ugly. And people will be people, and when they are facing desperate measures, you have to be able to delineate those differences of the advice you are giving them within court, because they can be used against you. So as a pastor, you need to make sure that you're not crossing any legal boundaries while giving them advice on their legal terms. Okay, on legal terms, excuse me. Quick immigration basics for pastors that pastors should know. Immigration status types. There are a number of immigration statuses that you need to be aware of. In the United States is one of a few countries that has what's called a non-immigrant status. A non-immigrant status is someone who is in the United States, is applying for immigration status, but has not received those immigration relief, those forms of relief. Those people are in a limbo, and those folks are people who are married. I'll give you an example. Someone who is married to a USC, a United States citizen, and they have petitioned for immigration benefits, adjustment of status or whatever, and they are waiting for those that form of relief to be approved. Those people are in a very difficult situation, because what happens is when they get detained or ICE comes up to them, it's very difficult for them to prove that they are within the scope of, or excuse me, within the the process of getting legalized and so forth. And most of those ICE agents do not understand the process. And so they'll take those folks in, they'll detain them, and then we have to deal with the mess that ICE has done with detaining them and so forth. So non-immigrant status are those that are with someone or are applying for a benefit, and are waiting for approval. You have someone called a lawful permanent resident, LPR, or a green card holder. I know and I understand that it says lawful permanent resident. I often tell people permanent is a relative word. It doesn't mean that if you get in trouble that that immigration officials can't take that away from you. Yesterday I explained, I told the story of a client that I had from Mexico. She has been in the country all her life. 18 years ago she had issues, legal issues, and when she went to Mexico and returned back to Mexico, they removed her legal permanent resident card, her green card, from her, and she was now in the immigration courts fighting for her legal status in the United States. So permanent is a relative form. I would always encourage, especially as pastor, to make sure that those legal permanent residents, resident card holders, if they have been in the country for a certain amount of years, in general terms 5 years, that you encourage them to get their citizenship. I mean, you really have to push that, because that is really the only guarantee that you have. In the United States, unfortunately, under this administration, the administration has been pushing something called denaturalization. Denaturalization is a very rare procedure that's done in immigration court. However, the administration has given a directive to the Department of Homeland Security to have 200 denaturalization procedures being done in the courts a month. And so we are living in some very difficult times now. And so if you have a USC or naturalized citizen that has something in their past, the United States Department of Homeland Security will be looking into your past to make sure that there is no fraudulent or any activities in your past that can lead to a denaturalization procedure in immigration court. In the last, I believe, 250 years that the country has been in existence, there was roughly 170 something denaturalization proceedings that happen in immigration court. So a very rare thing. However, again, under this administration, they want to see more of denaturalization procedures to happen. You also have undocumented people. Most folks call them illegal immigrants. Undocumented means that you basically are undocumented. You have no legal status in the United States. And those folks are being targeted like you would not believe today. ICE was created, Immigration Custom Enforcement was created only a couple of years ago. And the rapid hiring of these officers have created quite a panic in the United States, because yes, it is true that they are looking for people with a background or legal issues, but those in the periphery, they are also picking up. So if I am here if I'm an ICE officer and I'm looking for Brother Boyd, whoever is next to Brother Boyd, the ICE officers ask them for their statuses and so forth. And so we're seeing a lot of people being picked up, a lot of raids happening, and they are being taken to immigration detention facilities where we have to try to help them legally. It's happening in Minnesota right now. As you guys know, it's in the news. I get a lot of calls from Minnesota of pastors and people, our congregants that are in detention right now. And unfortunately, some of these folks, we can't do much for them. So it's a really good idea for pastors to be on the forefront of who is in their pews, meaning to ask these questions. Hey, what is your status? What is going on with your documentation? How are you able to adjust your status and so forth? They're not legal questions. There are legal questions, but they're more intake questions just to understand where they are so that we can identify what forms of relief we can apply for. Key legal terms that as pastors you should understand. Detention. Detention facilities are facilities that hold these undocumented or people who are in the process of removal proceedings. Detention facilities are now being built across the country in droves. I believe in Florida they build a South Alcatraz or something they call it, Alligator Alcatraz or something like that. And in South Florida, where I live in Colorado, the Aurora detention facility has been full for months now. Over 1,600 undocumented people are in Aurora detention facility. They don't know where to put people. That's how packed it is. And it's unfortunate. Removal, when you hear that word removal, that means that, again, they are before an immigration judge. That immigration judge is going to preside over their legal matters, their immigration legal matters. Voluntary departure is another word that you should know. Voluntary departure is when a respondent, an immigrant, an undocumented person, is requesting to leave the country on their own terms. For a voluntary departure to happen, that person must qualify for that relief. And I use the word relief because that is considered a benefit in the United States. And the reason why that's considered a benefit is because there are some waivers that come with a voluntary departure. What I mean by that is when they go into their country, when they are removed out of the United States, their unlawful status, some of it gets waived, and they are able to apply for re-entry into the United States with other processes and so forth. So it's important that you understand as pastor, what is their status? What are you, how are you in the United States? How did you get here? And so forth. Immediate steps when a family needs help. You have to listen. Listen first. This is very important. Hear their full story without judgment, and create a safe space for honest conversation. This gets a little uncomfortable sometimes because some people will tell you things that you didn't know about them. And so you have to, again, make sure that you are meeting their spiritual needs and not crossing any legal lines. But you really need to understand the story of this person. I had a lady that came into my office a couple of weeks ago. And this lady said, I really need to see you. It's an emergency, and you need to, come back to the office because I really need to speak to you now. It's a huge emergency. I was in lunch picking up my son, and I said, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I picked up my son. I scarfed down my food and went back to the office, and the lady said to me, I have a hearing in immigration in like a couple of days, and I need representation because my previous attorney is not representing me anymore. And so I went through her story and I started asking her, hey, what happened in your country that you need asylum? What's going on? And she said, well, my attorney made up a story. And I submitted an asylum. She said I submitted an asylum case through the story that my attorney made up, so that I can have work benefits and work into the country. And she said, I really need you to represent me for my next hearing, which is in a couple of days, and it's a bit of an emergency because I need representation right now. And I said, I am so sorry, ma'am, but you came to the wrong office. I do not do that. And the reason that we need to listen to these folks is that people are people. Just like JJ said, people can be people, and you have to understand whether this situation is fraudulent, which you can get, or this situation merits further investigation with legal counsel. Make sure you gather key facts, names, date of birth, and here's something that you all need to write down: an A number, alien number. That is incredibly important in immigration terms, because the A number is similar to a social security number. Our current A numbers are starting with 240, and that is the identifying number for that individual A number. So make sure that you have that. If a person gets detained, the first thing that legal representation is going to ask for is the A number. Okay, make sure you get an entry information, any notices received from immigration authority. Make sure that you ask, have you received a notice to appear, an NTA? Have you received any type of hearing notifications with the immigration judge? Do you have copies of that documentation? The next step is always, of course, to contact legal help. Reach out to trusted immigration attorneys or DOJ accredited reps immediately, and create emergency contact list for these individuals. As a pastor, you need to make sure that you have a plan for these people. You can't just go willy-nilly on, just call this guy and you're good to go. If you are their pastor, you need to make sure that you have all their family issues taken care of. They are going to need help with custody. They're going to need help with family issues. They're going to need help with food, possibly. They're going to need help, spiritual guidance, and they're going to need a lot of support from the congregation. So when you're seeking legal help, what kind of legal help are you seeking for? So again, there are only two people that can represent you in immigration court. There's a Department of Justice accredited rep, and there's a licensed attorney in a state that's licensed by a state bar. You need their credentials. Today in immigration, there's a lot of notario, what they call notario fraud, where someone who is a notary knows a little bit of, the procedures and the forms to fill out, enough to be dangerous, and they get people in a lot of trouble, I had a consultation a couple of days ago. This lady did not hire because I had a hearing that same day that she had an interview. She went to a notario to save a few dollars for her naturalization application, something that normally is seen to be a simple application to fill out. The notario put on her form, checked the box that was incorrect to her situation. She went to, the client went to the interview. At the interview, she passed the interview, passed the exam, and so forth. The USCIS officer said, we are going to approve your application. A few days after that, she got a notice in the mail stating that she needs to come back into the USCIS office to re-interview because they found that she committed fraud in her legal permanent resident application because of that check box. And yes.
And then abogado is a different kind of attorney. So they get very confused with what our notaries are just notaries, but they're not a type of attorney. So I just wanted to.
Yes, thank you. When they graduate out of law school, they graduate as abogado y notario. So that's the term that they use when they graduate out of law school. So when they come to the United States, they see notario. They think, oh, this is someone who understands legal matters. We don't function that way in the United States. So this person that went to her or is going to her second interview, it's this week, she's facing deportability issues, inadmissibility issues in immigration court now. If she does not pass her interview and the officer deems her to be a fraudulent applicant, she will receive a notice to appear, and then she'll be before court and facing some real life consequences. And so you need to understand who is representing you, who is the person taking care of your case. They need to be reputable, they need to be licensed, and they need to have the right credentials. And it's a question that we should all ask. Hey, what type of experience do you have? How many cases have you dealt with? How experienced are you with this type of situation and so forth? It's not an offensive question. It's offensive if you don't ask the person who is representing that person. There are also a lot of local legal clinics. The Catholic Charities is one that always comes to mind. Our organization is a part of the Catholic Charities. We get a lot of referrals from the Catholic Charities. The Catholic Charities is the largest not-for-profit immigration legal service in the entire country, and I would highly recommend them. And make sure you get referrals from trusted sources, not people who, are notarios or people who fill out documentation. Again, there are a lot of scams, but if you come across somebody who has had a scam done on them, this happens a lot, some of those scams can be used for benefits like a U visa. And I've had clients who have come to my office and they say, hey, I was scammed by this guy that looks like a USCIS officer in Washington, D.C. and so forth. And we were able to use some of that information to try to get benefits for that person. So it might be a good thing, I guess, if they get scammed. Just kidding. So supporting families facing detention. Detention is a very scary thing because detention is not like being put in jail. And I'll say that again, detention is not like being put in jail. You have different rights, I'm going to say it that way. You have different rights. I've met clients that have been detained for over 2 years in immigration detention. Over 2 years. I represented a person who was detained for 4 years in detention facility. Because what happens is when they have a pending case, civil litigation or criminal litigation, whatever it may be, the immigration court there are times where immigration court will not litigate on the immigration matter until the pending matters are taken care of. And so sometimes these things can take a very long time. Again, that person that I was helping that was detained for 4 years, they were eligible for a habeas corpus in federal court and so forth, but no one told him about it. No, he didn't understand what that was or the options that he has and so forth. And so it becomes a very scary thing for these immigrants to be detained for an untold amount of time without any type of relief in mind. So make sure that you are supporting these families through these difficult times. Remember who to contact. You need to contact legal help immediately, but also call the local ICE facility where they are located. If you know where they are located, there is also a site online. I think it's ICEdetentionlocator.gov. I hope I got that correctly, but you get their A number. If you can get their A number, their full legal name, and then you put where they are born, you'll be able to look up the ICE detention facility where they are located. That'll help you. You'll get the number and so forth. Make sure you call them. Sometimes the ICE facility allows you to talk to them as clergy, but also get the visitation rules for that detention. Each detention facility has a different rules regarding visitation and who can visit, but as clergy, you do have rights to that person, to see that person. That is very important to understand, because what happens is you get a lot of families who are, most of the family is undocumented, and some of the families have documentation, legal documentation. Well, the people who are undocumented are usually the closest to the detainee, meaning the wife or the husband and so forth. Well, I do not recommend that person who is undocumented goes and visits that individual. It's like putting your hand in the alligator's mouth. And so this is a question I get a lot, and a lot of people are saying, they say to me, well, I'm the wife, I'm the husband, I'm the son, and I always tell them, well, that's not a very good idea, buddy, unless you want to be a jailmate or a detained mate with that person. So make sure you understand the document status or the immigration status of the family as well when you're dealing with a detained individual. Material support is always good. Organize meal deliveries, child care arrangements, housing assistance, and coordinate volunteers for this family, because they will need your support. I see many times where the husband gets detained, and that's the main breadwinner of the family. And I see this a lot, unfortunately. And they have no support structure in the United States. And when a pastor and a church steps up and supports them financially and supports them with meals and so forth and child care and all of that, it means a lot to them. And so we need to make sure that as pastors that we give them that type of physical support as well. Spiritual presence. I can't tell you what it means to a lot of detainees to see their pastors inside of the detention facility praying with them, holding their hand, and really guiding them through these very difficult times. It means a whole lot. Building your church response plan. So this is something that I started about the beginning of 2025, is helping pastors come up with a church response plan. I have a whole list. I'm sorry I forgot to bring it today, but I have a step-by-step plan of what pastors should do when someone gets detained in their church. But again, make sure that you have these 4 members in your church. A legal liaison, someone that speaks to legal counsel for for the member of your church who is detained. Make sure that they have a waiver or a consent form for the attorney to be able to speak to that person about those matters. A pastoral care lead, usually that's the pastor, someone who's going to take care of the spiritual issues and the physical issues of that person. A logistics coordinator, many times you will see that the spouse or the family member that is not detained does not have the ability to go visit or, get, material or whatever, or just the physical needs that they need, transportation and meals and so forth. See if there's somebody in church that will coordinate all of that. And then also a finance lead. It goes a long way when there's somebody that they can go to, that they can ask, hey, what are your monetary needs? What are your financial needs that you need to keep your house afloat? This is very important for us to have preemptively in place in our churches, because when this goes down, it goes down very quickly. There is something in immigration called expedited removal. So a person who is placed in removal proceedings can go in, for the general part, can go into 1 or 2 ways. They can be placed in removal proceedings, or they can be placed in expedited removal proceedings. Someone who has a previous removal order in the United States can be, or more than likely is going to be placed in expedited removal orders. And that means that they are in DHS's hands. That person has very limited avenues of relief. So it's very important that we get to him as soon as possible, so we can do injunctions, we can do emergency stays and so forth. And there are some things that we can do, but time is very important for us to do those things. Just a couple of weeks ago, or actually the beginning of this year, we were able to get an emergency stay for clients that in Colorado. It was a huge win for us. But it is very important for us to get into that case as soon as possible. Writing pastoral statements. This is something that we all need to write down. Make sure you establish the relationship in your affidavit. Describe character, document family ties, include dates and details of how you know this person, the character of this person. These letters are very important because the immigration judge reads these for bond hearings and reads these for determination of custody of this individual who is detained. Very important. And this is the tough part. The tough part of this talk: trauma-informed pastoral care and community education. Some of these people who have legitimate asylum cases went through a trauma that you may not know about. It's very important that you tread very carefully when you are talking to them about the trauma that they had in their country. You need to recognize that some of this trauma can trigger some things in them that you have not seen before. And so it's important that we have some type of mental health referrals or that we have somebody that can talk to them about those sensitive items and those sensitive things, because we can trigger things in their trauma response that can be detrimental to a lot of people. I've seen in my office people break down and tell me about some very horrible, horrible things that happened in their past, and it's a very difficult thing to deal with. So mental health, a counselor, a psychologist is a number that we should have ready to give to them. 3 immediate actions to take today. Again, create that emergency contact list, identify legal partners, and train your volunteers. This is something that we do for free, and if you have someone who is interested in leading this group, just have them call my office and we can get them on a training schedule almost immediately. This is my contact information, the QR code. If you are willing or if you want to contact me and talk to me about any issues that are going on in your church, we are available. And if you need any advice, please feel free to contact me. I guess.
For you, Brother Gonzalez. First of all, what's the danger of churches harboring undocumented immigrants?
Great question. So the Trump administration took away the sanctuary policies in churches. Okay, so that means that ICE officers are able to go into churches and pull a undocumented immigrant out of your congregation. It has happened once since this administration has been in office. It happened in Georgia, I believe. The first thing that you need to understand is that you need to respect the officer, okay? A lot of agitators, unfortunately, in Minnesota are finding out that these people, the officers, have rights to that immigrant and are causing more legal issues and more issues that are beyond the scope of what's supposed to happen in that situation. However, make sure that when you have, or if you witness someone in your church that is being pulled out by an ICE officer, that you grab their A number, you grab their full legal name, and you step away from that situation and you call legal help immediately.
Now, what if a church is actively trying to hide or shelter someone to hide them from ICE?
You can get in a lot of trouble. You become an accessory to a crime. You also become an accessory to trafficking, human trafficking, and that is one crime, unfortunately, that is very difficult, especially in that situation, to overcome.
Now, as an immigration lawyer, you are licensed throughout the United States, is that correct?
Correct.
So you can accept a case from Florida, from Mississippi, from any place?
Yes, sir.
And you do this for a living?
Yes, sir.
So you appreciate being compensated for your services?
Yes, sir.
Brother Gonzalez is also a pastor, so if you want to have a double blessing, you can have him come for a weekend when he's available, preach for your church, and help you with your immigration issues, and you can pay him double for his services.
Praise the Lord.
He is going to be available at our question and answer session at the panel, so if you have more questions, and I'm sure you will, we'll have time for that after lunch. But thank you very much, Brother Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Yes.
Preach by the hour as well as bill by the hour.
That's a great idea.
Actually, I think most churches will pay him more to preach for a shorter time. There's got to be some kind of sliding scale. Brother Luke and Brother Cole, I think you may know the answer to this. I was asked about the videos and how they'll be available and when they'll be available. Yes. Okay. Okay. So Stewardship intends to host them. Okay. So it'll be on, is it called Stewardship Central? Stewardship Connect. And then the Stewardship Department is working with the ALA and co-sponsored this event and has been very generous to us. So it'll be on Stewardship Connect. We'll also intend to have them available on the ALA website, which is being built right now. So the more recent one, the one you'll be able to get quicker, will be through Stewardship Connect. With that information, we're going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break, get something to drink. The restrooms are down the hall, and we're going to get set up for our next session.